We've seen vehicle cancellations, strategic backtracking, policy changes, and dwindling sales. Are EVs dead? The short answer is no. At least not yet. For every company rolling back its electric ambitions, another is ramping up. And there are some very exciting cars on the way.
We're Edmunds, and we test hundreds of cars each year on the road and at our private track, so you get the most trusted reviews. If you want to know which car, truck, or SUV is the best, then stick with us.
We tallied them up. More than 20 different EVs have been discontinued or canceled in the past year. But some of those big decisions from automakers tell us more than others. The Acura RSX and the Honda 0 Series. Now, these ones hurt, not because we were especially excited for these specific models, although we were, but because of what they represented for Acura and for Honda as a whole. See, Honda and Acura had previously each offered an EV, the Prologue and the ZDX, but both of those were based on a partnership with General Motors. So to oversimplify here, they were reskinned versions of existing Chevys, engineered and built by GM. The RSX and Honda 0 Series SUV and saloon, that is a fancy word for a wagon, well, they were planned as Honda's first ground-up EVs set to be built by Honda at its production facility in Ohio. This is a decision that's going to cost Honda a ton of money. According to the company, nearly $16 billion. Now, Honda cites the unpredictability of incentives and regulations in the United States, and their decision to lose that kind of money is not a good sign for the state of EVs right now. Hyundai and Kia have made a few cancellations recently too. Kia's South Korea-built EV4 sedan, which was meant to be a smaller, more affordable option, has been axed, and the performance versions of the EV6 and EV9, the EV6 GT and the EV9 GT, those have been indefinitely delayed. Plus, Hyundai's Ioniq 6 is no longer being sold in the US, apart from the specialized Ioniq 6N. The company cited market conditions for these cancellations. Now, the cancellations aren't daggers in the same way as with Honda. Hyundai and Kia both still offer healthy electric lineups, including at least one affordable option that we're going to talk about shortly. And we'll still get the regular and very good versions of the EV6 and EV9. The company isn't as optimistic about the state of EVs as it was even just a year ago. And that's the case for a company making some of the best EVs on sale. And if you are looking for an EV, we've got tools on the site to help you pick the best one and help you figure out what you should pay. We'll drop a link down in the description, or you can scan that QR code. Now, remember when Ram was supposed to make an electric truck? Yeah, that's gone now. The company is still planning to make its extended range plug-in hybrid, but a fully electric pickup is no longer in the cards. Now, if we had to guess, we'd say it got canned for the same reason Ford killed the F-150 Lightning. There just isn't much demand for a huge, expensive electric pickup. Tesla discontinued the Model S and Model X. Nissan killed the Ariya, Volkswagen dropped the ID4, canceled the ID7, and it is not looking good for the future of EVs. On the other hand, between new EVs launched for 2026 and cars that were announced to debut in the years to come, we're expecting more than 40 new models. Even the stuff launched in the past year and cars coming out in the next couple of months show real advancement in the field, with cars that could appeal to new audiences. And the cheap EV space has really developed recently. Chevy just reintroduced the Bolt, the car that we just bought for our one-year road test fleet. And not only can you get one for less than 30 grand, brand new, it can almost get 300 miles of range. Chevy also introduced the $35,000 Equinox EV last year, an electric SUV that set a new record as the cheapest electric car we've tested with over 300 miles of range. There's also a new Nissan Leaf, a car that achieved an even better result in our range test than the Bolt for similar money. Now, in our experience, we think that the Bolt is a more well-rounded, better car if you want something in that $30,000 range, but if you've got a little more to spend, Tesla finally introduced a relatively affordable new version of the Model 3. Now, the current generation Model 3 that debuted in 2024 is a huge upgrade over the early cars. It's actually an Edmunds top-rated winner, and we are thrilled to see a version that is well under $40K that doesn't give up much feature content and still has great range. That is something we've wanted for a long time. Speaking of, one mainstream automaker that had been seriously lagging behind made a big jump this year. The Toyota BZ, formerly the BZ4X, launched a few years ago with disappointing range, charging, and performance. The refresh Toyota introduced this year is a huge improvement, addressing nearly all of our criticisms. Toyota also has a couple new EVs on the way, with a one-size-smaller CHR and the 3-row Highlander. A future with a strong electric presence is bright at Toyota. Plus, we saw some great 3-row EVs in 2025 and 2026. After the Kia EV9 impressed us so much in 2024, we were excited to get our hands on its corporate cousin, the Hyundai Ioniq 9 this year, and that car rocks. It even surpassed the former favorite EV9 in our rankings with its comfortable, spacious cabin and exceptional range. And if you've got a little more cash in your pocket, the Lucid Gravity joined the fray this year. It became the latest luxury 3-row EV to record at least 400 miles of range in our testing, even if it didn't come close to that monster 558-mile performance from last year's Cadillac Escalade IQ. The Gravity really impressed us with its fast charging capability, outstanding driving dynamics, luxurious interior, and the massive amount of interior space Lucid achieved with a relatively small footprint. We noticed some build quality issues in the one we had for testing, but once they sort that out, this one's gonna be great. But even as excited as we've been by the EVs that have been coming out in the past year, it's the cars still on the way that we think could really change the game. Rivian's new model, the R2, is set to hit roads in the second half of 2026. And don't worry, we're getting one for the 1-year road test fleet so we can tell you what it's like to live with. I heard a rumor it's gonna be purple. I know! It's aimed straight at the heart of the EV market, a small SUV like the Tesla Model Y or the Hyundai Ioniq 5. And based on everything we know, we think it's going to be a real disruptor. The range is right. Pricing will start from around 45 grand, and it'll have all the charm and character we've come to expect from Rivian. You can check out our deep dive into the new R2, where we got exclusive access behind the scenes. And you can bet when all of these cars come out, we'll put them through the full testing process, including the world-famous Edmunds range test, so stay tuned for that. And while some automakers are pulling back on EV strategy, others are going all in. BMW's next generation of EVs is arriving by the end of the year, and we've gotten our hands on it, and we think it's going to be outstanding. You can think of this as a Tesla Model 3 competitor, except that it will have another 100 miles of range, a better interior, and faster charging. And all that same tech will underpin the iX3, a small electric SUV that will start where the Model Y stops price-wise and line up against the Audi Q6 e-tron and Mercedes GLC. Now, like the i3, it's going to have class-leading range, terrific driving dynamics, and outstanding tech. Plus, BMW just revealed a heavily refreshed version of the i7, and all of these cars will hit the road by the end of the year, and we can expect more in the form of an updated i5 and a new iX5 to replace the iX in 2027. Now, Mercedes is not holding back either. They've got properly started with EVs a few years back, none of which we really loved, but this year marks the beginning of a new wave. We've already gotten our hands on the electric CLA and the new GLC EV, both of which made strong early impressions. The CLA starts at less than 50 grand, and when we first drove it, we called it a new standard for small EVs. It's remarkably comfortable, reasonably priced, charges super fast, everything that we'd want in a small electric luxury car. And the electric GLC is the most important EV that Mercedes has launched to date. It's sized perfectly to match up with the iX3 we just talked about, and it debuts an insane new tech suite with a huge screen that takes up the entire dashboard, pillar to pillar. And both of these cars, plus the BMWs, have deep AI assistant integration, which should feel properly next-gen. We're not quite so sure about the styling and that wacky steering yoke on the new EQS. Plus, the GLC's tech suite now makes the flagship EQS look a little out of date, but it's clear that Mercedes is not slowing down with its EV strategy. And don't worry, there's more cheap stuff on the way, too. Kia is entering the market with a stylish EV3, a car that is already on sale in other markets. We drove one and we loved it. This is going to make for stiff competition against the Leaf, the Bolt, and that inexpensive version of the Model 3. And we're not sure when it's actually coming, but there are some exciting things going on at Slate. The EV startup is planning a pint-sized modular pickup truck / SUV around $30,000, and this one could really shake up the industry. So more EVs are coming that have been canceled. But will there be enough demand to make sure that they actually show up? Well, based on the data of folks like you browsing the site, interest in EVs is as high as it's ever been. Almost 12% of people researching a car on our site look at an EV, but that's not necessarily turning into sales. So for context, on the average dealer lot, about 6% of the inventory consists of 2025 model year cars. But when you limit that data to just EVs, the number jumps to 17%. That means that dealers are having a harder time getting those cars out the door. And that makes sense. Charging infrastructure and fuel preference aside, the average transaction price of a new EV is $57,000. Cars are more expensive than ever, but that is still a lot of money. But what's interesting right now is the used EV market, where unprecedented depreciation means that you can get great cars for not much money. The average 3-year-old EV is a little over $31,000, and there is a lot to be had for less. In fact, we just did a video on EV steals, so you should check that one out. So, what do you think? EVs clearly aren't dead now, but are they going to be soon? Do any of the cars coming up get you excited, or do they not fix any of the major problems? Let us know in the comments, because we read them all. And if videos like this one are helpful to you and you want to support us, just hitting all those like and subscribe buttons, notification bell buttons, ding, ding, dang, dang, doom, well, all that goes a long way. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.